G'day folks, welcome back to the channel. In this one we're going to look at two absolutely insane net zero stories, which are directly as a result of how wind power actually works. Now the first thing you have to realise, of course, is that wind power is dependent on the wind. And the wind isn't under our control, we just have to accept whatever the weather determines it's going to give us. So sometimes there's going to be literally zero energy generated by wind turbines, and other times there's going to be too much electricity which we don't know what to do with. The other problem is that wind farms obviously have to be in places where it's, windy, which is usually in the bleakest, most remote parts of the country, up on the top of mountain ranges, and yet that's not where people live. So you have to have masses of grid infrastructure, not only to join the individual wind turbines together, but also to get that power from the wind farm to somewhere where it's actually useful, where people live. I mean, contrast this with traditional power stations. They're built where the people are. And as a result, you don't need to have masses of infrastructure and grid technology and grid complexity to get the power from the power station to the people that are using it. Like I've said so many times before, all it takes is a few strategically placed nuclear power stations around the country to obviate the need for any of this nonsense with wind factories and solar panels. But the net zero ideology mind virus is so strong that they persist in doing this, and this is the kind of story you end up with, the absolute madness of net zero. And the first of these we've talked about before. It's called constraint payments. It's when a wind farm is creating too much electricity and it has to be paid to stop generating. I mean, the insanity of this, it beggars belief, but obviously the demand and supply on an electricity grid must always be exactly balanced. So if the wind is blowing faster or stronger and creating more energy than is required, then that could put the grid out of balance, and therefore they have to pay wind farms in order to shut them down so they don't overload the grid. And this first story just exemplifies that 100%. Britons spend £1 billion with a B to switch off wind farms this year. Flaws in the net zero drive mean Britain's electricity operator has to pay compensation for lost revenue after ordering turbines to be switched off. So they get paid for generating electricity, and they also get paid for not generating electricity. Nice work if you can get it. Energy bill payers have spent a record £1 billion this year to switch off wind turbines because of flaws in the UK's drive for net zero. On a single day, October the 1st, Britain's electricity operator paid wind farm operators £1.3 million in compensation for lost revenue after ordering them to switch off turbines to avoid overloading the grid. At the same time, the grid operator was forced to pay £4.9 million to buy energy from abroad and switch on more expensive gas power generation to meet demand. I mean, seriously, if anybody can understand this, please let me know, because it's insane. The total amount of lost energy was enough to power the whole of London for a day, according to analysis by the Wasted Wind website supported by the energy supplier Octopus. The payments are the result of Britain's out-of-date transmission network, we'll come back to that, which cannot cope with the amount of renewable energy being generated during times of high wind. It means that wind farms, many located in Scotland, cannot operate at full capacity because the grid does not have the capacity to move the power generated to the urban areas of the country where it is needed. Well, if you didn't use wind power, you wouldn't need this massive grid infrastructure upgrade. You could just build the power stations where the power is needed. If you just abandoned this nonsense of renewable energy and just built nuclear or coal power stations, you wouldn't have to deal with any of this nonsense. So far this year, the combined charges of purchasing energy from abroad and gas power generation have reached a record £1 billion, or £34 per household, compared with £734 million at the same time last year. The figures will increase the political pressure on Ed Miliband, who has pledged to bring energy bills down. So funny. While at the same time eliminating fossil fuels from the grid by 2030. Ed, let me tell you something. You cannot have net zero and low energy bills. It's as simple as that. If you want net zero, energy prices will be through the roof. I mean, why can't people get this into their thick skulls? And the other story is just this on steroids. So instead of paying constraint payments to tell wind turbines or wind farms to stop generating, the alternative is to pay industries to use more electricity. So the price of the electricity is effectively negative. You get paid to use the electricity. Just wrap your head around that for a minute. Never happens to us poor consumers, of course, because we're behind multiple layers of power distributors and all that kind of nonsense. But industries can get a phone call and say, oh, can you take any extra energy that we can't use at the moment? We'll pay you. And so you get bizarre headlines like this. Storm Amy brings negative electricity prices to UK. Gusty weather drives huge amounts of wind power into the grid. The UK is set to experience a joint record stretch of negative electricity prices on Saturday as Storm Amy drives huge amounts of wind power into the grid. Wholesale power prices will be negative for 17 hours from late Friday night, matching a record set in May, with the national grid forecasting 20 gigawatts of wind power from the storm, more than 3/4 of the country's total electricity demand. The current record day for wind power in the UK was in December last year, when generation hit 22.5 gigawatts. And then it explains what the negative price actually means. Negative prices for electricity have become increasingly common throughout Europe as more renewables are added to the grid. UK power prices hit a low of minus £19.10 in early September, for example, but long stretches of negative prices remain rare. UK wholesale power prices turn negative when there is too much electricity generation, often from wind and solar, only the renewables, and not enough demand. So the grid needs buyers to take the excess in order to remain balanced. In those moments, it can be cheaper for power plants to pay others to use electricity than to switch off their generators. I mean, this is just insanity. Insanity. It's only wind and solar that cause this problem, because you can control all the other forms of generation. We have control over it, whereas wind and solar, it's just the weather, and we don't have any control over it. Anyway, for those of you who'd never heard of negative electricity prices, there's an introduction for you. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now. If you'd like to support this channel and display your anti-EV credentials to your Tesla-owning neighbours at the same time, why not buy some awesome MGUY merchandise, like this mug, this baseball cap, or this t-shirt. Each high-quality item sports the MGUY No EVs sign, and they're all made to order, perfect for irritating the hell out of your local EV zealots. Visit store.mguy.tv or click the link in the description to check out the full range of products. And of course, you can always just buy me a coffee. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Thanks very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any tips or stories, go there. If you'd like to watch another video, go there. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, go there. And please subscribe to the channel.